What if someone already knew? What if years before the files were released, before the lawsuits, before the arrests, one woman had it all, kept it to herself, and the moment she tried to reveal the truth, she vanished?
This business is so disgusting that I can't.
And that's precisely what happened to Wendy Williams.
His pregnancy is a way of keeping Jay-Z's alleged mistress away. Beyonce is going to use a surrogate so she can maintain her body, but they're going to play it off like it's allegedly, like they gave birth.
She exposed everything on daytime TV, in plain sight, and no one came to her defense.
I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
Here's the part nobody is connecting, and once you notice it, you can't look away. Everyone online is buzzing about Beyonce and Jay-Z's names showing up in the Epstein files. But underneath all that chaos, a quieter rumor has been circulating. A rumor about a child, a remote island, and a connection to everything Wendy Williams has been warning us about for years. Before we dive into that rumor everyone is whispering about, we need to give credit where it's due. Wendy Williams was the first to pull this thread, years before the public was ready to hear it. Some of you might have your own opinions about Wendy, and that's fine. But one thing is undeniable. She had real sources, industry insiders feeding her receipts, proof she could stand behind. And she had the courage to speak on mainstream television about things nobody else would touch. Let's rewind to 2011, the moment it all began to unravel. Beyonce is at the Video Music Awards, beaming, announcing her pregnancy to the world. The crowd goes wild. Blue Ivy is on the way. It's a perfect moment. Until it isn't. On live TV, her baby bump falters. It folds, and the world watches it happen. Beyonce's team scrambled. They released bikini photos in a rush, trying to control the narrative. But the images? They looked like anyone's post-Thanksgiving belly. Hardly convincing. And Wendy? She wasn't buying it.
His pregnancy is a way of keeping Jay-Z's alleged mistress away. Beyonce is going to use a surrogate so she can maintain her body, but they're going to play it off like it's allegedly, like they gave birth.
What made this moment extraordinary wasn't just what Wendy said, it was what she said next. She didn't stop at discussing the surrogate theory. She dropped a name that mainstream media refused to touch at the time: Kathy White. For those who don't know, Kathy White was reportedly Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died under circumstances many considered deeply suspicious. An aneurysm, just like that, gone. Wendy, who had spent years in the industry and knew how these things worked, went on her show and spoke the words that many were only whispering. The theory, what was being discussed publicly, was that Kathy White wasn't just Jay-Z's mistress. She was allegedly the surrogate carrying Blue Ivy. And once she had served her purpose, she was gone.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died of an imaginary fucking aneurysm. Just like the woman who was best friends with Kim and Kimura, who wrote the book Bling and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list.
The pattern Wendy was pointing out wasn't subtle. Women who got too close to the wrong people, who knew too much, who carried too heavy a burden, they had a strange habit of disappearing or dying at the most convenient moments. Wendy was brave enough to say it out loud, which is probably exactly why someone made sure she went quiet. Fast forward to today, because what happened next sent the entire internet into a frenzy. And suddenly, everything Wendy had ever said came roaring back. The DOJ released the Epstein files. First batch, second batch, third batch, and with each drop, the names grew bigger. The first wave had everyone focused on Jay-Z. An anonymous victim told the FBI she woke up in a room with Jay-Z present while Harvey Weinstein assaulted her. That alone is shocking. But the internet wasn't about to let Beyonce hide in Jay-Z's shadow. When the third batch of files dropped, her name was right there, front and center.
Why is nobody understanding that Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter? They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly. How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah?
And here's the thing about these files. They don't exist in isolation. They're part of a complex web of relationships. Jay-Z and Diddy, Jay-Z and R. Kelly, Jay-Z and Epstein. Every time a new connection surfaces, the internet asks the same question. Where was Beyoncé in all of this? Was she truly just standing in the background, oblivious, or was she part of the very infrastructure? And that word, infrastructure, matters. This wasn't just wealthy people throwing parties. Those paying attention were seeing something far darker.
Picture that is becoming more and more clear is that we aren't just looking at a bunch of wealthy creeps operating with total impunity. We are looking at a massive criminal network that may be responsible for the of hundreds
of women. That's the scale people were talking about. And in the middle of it all, the Epstein connection, the Diddy connection, the R. Kelly connection, there was Beyoncé. Not on the fringes, but right at the center. Now, let's dive into some of the specific allegations that began emerging alongside the files. Because this is where things get genuinely unnerving. Remember her song 16 Carriages? Once her name appeared in the files, people started analyzing the lyrics through a completely different lens. The internet, again, I'm sharing what people online are saying, not making personal claims, was drawing links between that song and the number of pregnancies Beyoncé has publicly discussed losing. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to believe about a song. But when suspicion is already in the air, every lyric can feel like evidence, every metaphor like a confession. Beyoncé, who has built her entire artistic identity on cryptic visual albums and layered symbolism, has given people plenty of material to dissect. And speaking of songs, let's move on to Daughter from the Cowboy Carter album, released in 2024.
It's potentially a murder confession about Jay-Z's mistress, Kathy.
The internet ran with that one hard. If Kathy White was allegedly carrying Blue Ivy as a surrogate, and if what happened to her wasn't an accident, then a song like Daughter suddenly carries a weight most people aren't ready to face. Now, this is the part you've been waiting for, but I need you to understand. What I'm about to share is a rumor. It's speculation, driven by people online who have been connecting dots across years of stories, public statements, and leaked information. I'm presenting it exactly as it's circulating on the internet. Make of it what you will. Everyone focused on the names in the Epstein files, but those who dug deeper, actually reading the documents rather than just the headlines, started flagging something else. The island. Specifically, the alleged activities at Little St. James, and the questions of who was there, how often, and what or who they brought with them. And that's where this rumor begins. Certain online communities claim that Jay-Z and Beyoncé's connection to Epstein's world may go further. They suggest there is a child, a son, allegedly born under circumstances directly tied to these island networks. The name being whispered? Ramir Carter. Jay-Z has a publicly known son, Jaden, from a relationship outside his marriage. But the rumor claims there is another, Ramir Carter, said to be Jay-Z's biological son, with a birth allegedly linked to the island. And the reason mainstream media avoids this story? According to the rumor, it's because the people who would need to report it have spent decades protecting Jay-Z. Think about the pattern people are pointing to. Kathy White, allegedly connected to Blue Ivy's birth, dies under suspicious circumstances and is never properly investigated. Wendy Williams, the only person bold enough to mention Kathy White's name on mainstream television, ends up incapacitated, her guardianship stripped, her ability to speak publicly severely limited. And now, this rumor about Ramir exists in a similar shadow, real enough that people know the name, suppressed enough that no major platform dares to speak it aloud.
What was these people supposed to go to? You can't go to the boss because the boss is f***ing you. And the boss's boss don't get no Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid.
That monologue hits differently when you apply it to this rumor. Because who do you turn to when the person you're accusing controls the very relationships that would normally protect you? Who do you call? The FBI? Jay-Z had lawyers who could make calls, and even evidence, disappear. The media? Jay-Z's Roc Nation had partnerships with major media companies. Social media accounts that tried to push the story were flagged and removed. And Wendy Williams, the one with the receipts, the sources, the years of warnings that Jay-Z and Beyoncé were not who they presented themselves to be publicly, ended up in a conservatorship situation that many found deeply suspicious in its timing. The timing of Wendy's decline is worth noting. She had been getting louder, connecting more dots publicly, And then, seemingly out of nowhere, she was gone. Her show ended. Her health deteriorated. People with financial control over her declared her to have dementia, and her ability to speak freely evaporated. Was that a coincidence? The internet doesn't think so. Given everything we know now about how this industry operates, and the documented history of powerful people silencing those who threaten to expose them, asking that question isn't crazy. Wendy knew about Diddy long before the raids. She knew about Epstein's connections in the industry. She knew about Kathy White. And the internet believes she may have known something about the island, about what happened there, and perhaps even about Ramir. This rumor gains more weight because it doesn't exist in isolation. Multiple public figures have made on-record statements that feed directly into this broader narrative. Take Larry Johnson, Jay-Z's former close friend. He claims he watched his friendship with Jay-Z fall apart right around the time Jay-Z started openly revealing who pulls the strings in the entertainment world. Johnson is also on the record about a party in Colorado, a party hosted by the Carters, where, according to him, things weren't right.
I did a Rockaware photo shoot in Colorado, and I think it was during the wintertime of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there, actress Jamie King was there, Jay was there, B was there, and he rented this house. We were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house, and we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults, which I can respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild, like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look or isn't this? And
Larry says he didn't fully process it in the moment. The liquor took over, and he left, but those kids remained. That memory, he says, is why he can't completely dismiss the allegations that have surfaced since. Then there's Jaguar Wright, who appeared on Piers Morgan's show and made claims that nearly got her sued. She specifically alleged that Beyoncé had some connection to Aaliyah's death.
People on planes while they're unconscious, just like Aaliyah got on that plane. Unconscious.
Now, Aaliyah. People have been trying to connect this thread for years. The theory has always been that Jay-Z was pursuing her romantically, sending flowers, inviting her to parties, and she wanted nothing to do with him. Dame Dash himself confirmed that Jay-Z was indeed trying to pursue something with Aaliyah, and she wasn't interested. Then she was gone. On a plane she allegedly never intended to board, given a sedative she didn't know she was taking, and that was the end of Aaliyah. Beyoncé, who many believe benefited most from Aaliyah's absence, going on to occupy the throne Aaliyah was poised to claim, has never been asked about any of it. Not directly, not seriously. Then there's MIA, who in 2024 claimed that Jay-Z and Beyoncé pushed her to participate in satanic rituals. She said that when she signed with Roc Nation, the very first thing Jay-Z told her was to get plastic surgery.
I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself in swimming goop, in black goop, and can like wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. Fuck that.
That's a direct quote from an artist describing what she says she was pressured to do. She explicitly stated that she wasn't willing to comply, which raises the question, what about the people who were? Then there's Cat Williams, who, by his own admission, has been collecting receipts for over 30 years.
30 years I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something,
Cat also described in vivid detail watching Hollywood's biggest names shuttle up to private parties in the hills, and then come back hours later looking, in his words, sad, oily, walking differently, shoelaces untied, laced. Experts who study trafficking patterns say those are consistent behavioral markers of what survivors look like immediately after an assault. And Cat Williams witnessed this with his own eyes from a parking lot for years. Here's what's particularly interesting. While all of this, files, rumors, witnesses, was swirling, a blind item began circulating from someone claiming to be close to Beyoncé's inner circle. The details in it align eerily well with what Storm Monroe has been saying publicly for some time. The blind item claimed that Beyoncé has threatened to flee the country multiple times, that her team is terrified of losing control over her, and that she has been under enormous psychological pressure from both her mother, Tina, and Jay-Z. It suggested she knows what happens to people who try to break free from this world, and that she has been quietly taking steps, both financial and geographical, to prepare an exit.
For the reason why they're already living separate lives, and we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood, is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed. And it's only so much of these stories that Jay-Z can, he can pay off or he can block. He won't be able to stop this. And she knows it, and he...
Storm Monroe put it plainly. The divorce is coming, not because the love ran out, but because the exposure is coming. Beyoncé, who has spent her entire career controlling her image with military precision, is not about to let Jay-Z's reckoning become her reckoning if she can help it. But here's the twist. The internet suggests it might already be too late. If the Ramir Carter rumor has any substance, if there truly is a child connected to these island networks and to Jay-Z's bloodline, then divorcing Jay-Z doesn't remove Beyoncé from the story. It just repositions her within it. And then there's 50 Cent, who has been trolling Jay-Z relentlessly since the files dropped, seemingly gearing up for something bigger. He did to Diddy what nobody else would do. He turned a rumor into a documentary, whispers into receipts. Now, he's circling Jay-Z with the same energy. The internet is watching, waiting. DL Hooghly said something recently that cut through all the noise in a way that deserves a moment. And he's right. Beyoncé has had the biggest platform in music for the past 20 years. She's spoken out on racial justice, on police brutality, and positioned herself as a champion for black women in particular. Yet when it comes to Epstein, Diddy, and everything surrounding them, she has been completely, eerily silent. Silence can be protection, but it can also be complicity. And the internet has largely moved toward the latter interpretation. Here's what we know. Jay-Z's name is in the Epstein files. Beyoncé's name is in the Epstein files. Both have documented relationships with Diddy going back decades. Witnesses have placed them at parties where things didn't seem right. A rumor is circulating about a child connected to these networks. And the one woman who had been saying all of this for years, Wendy Williams, has been effectively silenced. To those paying attention, that's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. So here's what I need from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think Wendy Williams was silenced because of what she knew about the Carters? Do you think the Ramir Carter rumor has legs? Or is this just internet speculation running wild? And do you believe Beyoncé is already planning her exit? Or is she more locked into this world than she wants us to think? One thing is clear. The files are still dropping, the witnesses are still talking, and whatever has been buried, it is coming to the surface. Comment below, subscribe if you're new, and click the video on your screen right now. Trust me, that one connects even more dots.